Well, folks with the Daviess County Historical Society and Museum are working hard to keep local history alive and present in the community. This includes bringing in a series of speakers to highlight different historical efforts. Here to update us on their efforts is Program Director Bruce Smith. Thanks for being here, Bruce.
Thanks for having me.
So I can't imagine what a large undertaking it is to try to keep the 200-year history of Daviess County alive and well. How is it on the day-to-day to keep that mission going?
Well, it's an interesting challenge. The Daviess County Historical Society has been in existence for almost 60 years. And shortly after it was organized, they decided to set up a museum. So the museum has been at different locations in Washington over the years. Our current location is at 212 East Main Street in Washington, and it's part of the historic district of Washington. It's in the former Masonic Lodge that was built in 1868, so the building itself has a significant amount of history. The museum itself, since 2016, has been an all-volunteer staff. We don't have any paid staff. And the director is Becky Krimp, and she's done a marvelous job since 2016 in organizing those volunteers and in attracting talent to come into the museum and help with the exhibits and the programs and the cataloging of the collection.
I know if anyone tuning in hasn't visited the museum, you guys have a really impressive virtual tour online.
Yes.
What I guess inspired that, other than being able to connect to those far and wide?
Well, we have one of our volunteers at the museum is Ken Graber, and he's always, I like to say, he's our digital technological tinkerer. He's always willing to try new techniques and new technology to enhance the image of the museum. So it was Ken's idea to do the virtual tour, and I think it worked out pretty well.
I know, of course, us in public media, we love history. I think there seems to be a history bug right now, especially ahead of the 250-year celebration for our country. But you guys have put some collections online so people can search through. I'm sure that's very popular for families members that may have moved away from the area.
We have, since about 2016, the end of 2016, we use what's called Past Perfect. It's a program made by a company out of Pennsylvania specifically for museums to inventory their collection. And we've been attempting to catalog our collection since 2016 into this software package. We have an online site where people can visit. It's daviesscounty.pastperfectonline.com. So we've cataloged about 20,500 items since the start of the cataloging process, and we have about 17,500 of those cataloged items uploaded to our online site.
That is awesome. But of course, for the displays that you have there at the museum, there's nothing like coming through the door to see them in person, right?
Yes, and what's amazing about the volunteer staff and Becky Krimp, she's also in charge of the exhibit committee, is they change those exhibits out on a regular basis. They call it freshening the exhibits. So if someone has been to the museum, let's say 2 years ago, we would encourage them to come back for another visit, because the exhibits will have changed. There'll be different exhibits, different things to look at. So we encourage people to come back and see us on a regular basis, because the exhibits change out and show more interesting artifacts.
There's definitely plenty of history to try to share. So you've got a great series of speakers coming in over the next several weeks. Let's start with the August 18th. You have a topic of preserving historic buildings, which is so important to try to help history live on into the future.
Yes, Tommy Kleckner, who's the director of the Western Division of Indiana Landmarks, and it's a not-for-profit corporation. Their focus and mission is to preserve historical buildings and homes here in Indiana. So Mr. Kleckner is coming to the museum, and this is a Sunday afternoon program on the 18th, starting at 3 p.m. And he will be speaking about preserving historical buildings and homes here in Daviess County. He'll talk about the importance of doing that and he'll also emphasize the challenges
Right.
in preserving these buildings. And he'll have some help and insight for people who are interested in this, or if they're involved in a project where they can find funding, because preserving historical structures, quite frankly, can be expensive.
Absolutely. And then on August 29th, you have comics artist John K. Snyder III coming in. He's internationally known.
Yes, he is indeed. He's a native of Washington, Indiana. He's a local boy. He's an illustrator and a writer for comic books and what they call graphic novels. So he'll be coming back into town. He still has family here in the area, so he'll be in town at that time. So he's coming in on August 29, and that's an evening program at 6:30 p.m. And he'll be showing us some of the things he's done and his work.
And then September 15th, Native American Archaeology, which I know is so important for our area.
Yes, it's Curtis Tomac. Mr. Tomac was the archaeologist for the Indiana Department of Transportation. So when the highway department would start digging into the side of a hill and find things that looked like Native American artifacts or tools, then they would call in Mr. Tomac, and he would examine the site and try to identify it and preserve the artifacts. So he is going to come in and talk about his career, a long-time career as the archaeologist. He's going to bring some Native American artifacts with him. And then this is the interesting part about Mr. Tomac's presentation. He encourages visitors who have their own collection of Native American artifacts to bring samples into the museum that afternoon, and he'd be happy to take a look at them and see if he can help these folks identify some of their Native American artifacts.
I know it can be quite impressive. I have a great uncle, Father Hilary Veek, who had an expansive arrowhead collection, and it's just impressive to see this part of our history that sometimes gets overlooked.
Yes, and I think the thing that people need to understand is that the footprint of humans in this area goes back thousands of years.
Right.
And they keep pushing the date back. When I was a younger fellow, they used to say that humans arrived in this area about 10,000 years ago. Now they're talking like 15,000 years ago. So we have a history in Daviess County and Indiana, what's now known as Indiana, that different human cultures and communities have inhabited this area for thousands of years. Different cultures, different technologies, different tools.
Right.
So Mr. Tomac is an expert in that area and will help us better understand this very long-term human imprint here in southern Indiana.
Well, that is great. You guys are doing a great job over at the Historical Society to try to keep that history alive, and we'll look forward to following you along.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Bruce.
Well, thanks for having me.
You can stay informed of all the happenings at the Daviess County Museum by following a link on our website, vincennes.pbs.org.